All right, it's time. All the talking can be put to the side about what happens if Ohio State gets there undefeated or Michigan gets there undefeated, or if they lose to this team, that team. All the dust has settled, and we're going to get an undefeated matchup in Columbus, Michigan and Ohio State. Before we get to that game, though, let's break down some of these key battles. We're going to predict this whole thing on Tuesday during the live show. Make sure you're locked in with us. But let's break down the key games within this game, if you will. There's three big matchups I'm looking at. Also, at the end of this video, got a little announcement for you, so make sure you're tuned in for that. The first matchup that I'm watching, Ohio State secondary versus J.J. McCarthy in this Michigan wide receiving core. The Michigan pass game has been very much so the counterpunch to what they want to do offensively. They're only throwing it about 38% of the time. And for Ohio State, their secondary, it's not bad by any means, but they've had some games where if you're an Ohio State fan, you say, oof, we got to get that figured out. We got to fix that. You kept saying we got to fix that by the Michigan game, because that can't be the Achilles heel for us. And so I think what you have in this matchup is two facets of each program that are a little bit more unproven. You don't doubt that you can do it. There's just some concern from what you've seen on the field so far. J.J. McCarthy, the reason why he's playing quarterback for you is because of what he brings. I guess mobility, yes, but with his arm, he's got special arm talent. When the kid cuts it loose, they've been very, very close on a lot of those deep shots this year. The secondary, a ton of talent. Jim Knowles places a lot of emphasis on what they do at the safety position. So there's a lot of potential and I think anticipation for what both of these units can be. But in this game, oftentimes what big games like this come down to are what do you have as a counterpunch. I perceive both the Michigan pass game and the Ohio State secondary play to be that kind of counterpunch for both these programs. Whoever can win that matchup, I think, will be in good position to ultimately win the football game. Really quick note. For both Michigan and Ohio State fans, a lot of you have joined the party so far this year. If you haven't yet subscribed, we would love to have you. Again, an announcement coming at the end of this video that I think you will want to hear. Second matchup I'm looking at really, really closely. This Buckeye front seven and the Michigan run game. Now, you hope and pray, if you're a Michigan fan at least, you got Blake Corum back healthy for this upcoming week. You hope you have Donovan Edwards back healthy for this upcoming week. Because for Michigan, the run game is really, let's call a spade. That's their identity. Like, they're capable of doing other things as an offense, or they have the tools to be capable of doing other things as an offense, but they're top 10 in the country in terms of percentage of run plays they dial up. Translation, they want to run the football. They don't care what you do in the box. You can put 8 in there. It doesn't matter. They're going to run power until you can stop it. A great coach once told me, you don't go broke getting paid. And Michigan has made a living running the football this year. They've been special up front. They've been special in the backfield. What they want to do is to impose their will physically, have that edge, and live in 3rd and 2, live in 3rd and 1, and do play action and hit their man in the flat and hit the tight end on the corner. And eventually in this game, they want to go deep. So everything Michigan wants to do offensively is predicated on that identity in running the football, controlling the line of scrimmage. Now, on the flip side of things, for Ohio State, you and I both know it. Larry Johnson is one of the best in the business. JT Tuimoloau, he's catching fire. Jack Sawyer, tons of ability. Statistically, they're giving up around 3 yards a carry. It's good for top 10 in the country. Giving up just a little bit over 100 yards a game on the ground. So this front seven is going to be stacked. In my estimation, one of the best, if not the best, front seven Michigan has seen to this point in terms of linebacker and defensive line play. So that's going to be a stalemate. Because if Ohio State can, again, force Michigan to being one-dimensional and having to throw the football, that's advantage Ohio State. Flip the script. Remember what happened last year? Michigan just getting downhill again and again and again, playing their style of football, dictating their tempo to Ohio State. I assure you, Jim Harbaugh would love for that to be the case yet again this coming year in Columbus for both programs. It's kind of an attitude thing. Because Ryan Day, all offseason, the talk was, we got to be tougher. All the talk externally around this Ohio State program was, yeah, a lot of talent, a lot of guys with stars next to their names. Sure, C.J. Stroud's going to wing it around the yard. You got some receivers. couple went to the NFL, but, we know the offense is going to score. Are they tough enough? Can they play in November with these teams in the trenches? Well, this is the game for Ohio State to prove that you are tough enough to hang with one of the teams that has made their living, made their identity off of being that blue-collar kind of tough team in the trenches. Very excited to watch that boxing match. Now, the final matchup I'm looking at within this game, the battle within the battle, C.J. Stroud, Ohio State's quarterback, versus Michigan's defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter. Now, last year, C.J. Stroud played relatively well. He wasn't the reason they lost last year, but he took last year's loss especially hard. I have vivid memories of listening back to his post-game press conference and talking about how he understands what this rivalry means. He understands the kind of heat he's going to take for the way that Ohio State played. Him being the quarterback, you get the brunt of the criticism and you get the majority of the praise. For C.J. Stroud, I promise you, they've been thinking about this one for a little bit. This offense, in spite of some of the bumps they've hit in the road, they've been humming this year, averaging around 49 points a game. C.J. Stroud, some people would tell you he's the leader in the clubhouse to win the Heisman Trophy. This might be the kind of game where if he balls, he wins the Heisman Trophy. It's a playoff game. And in playoff games like this, you look to your best player. C.J. Stroud, the unquestioned leader of this Ohio State program, this is his game where if you want to make your mark as a Buckeye, you beat Michigan and you have a big game doing it. So for Jesse Minter, as the defensive coordinator for Michigan, they've been really successful as a defense all year long. Now, where the matchup, I think, comes into play is what Jesse Minter can do to try and confuse C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but if you can get him off rhythm, what would that look like? I would imagine it's dialing up exotic pressures, dialing up different coverages that are more complex that maybe he's less accustomed to seeing, being able to win that chess game. And maybe it's not force him into having a bad day at the office, but I would imagine it's something a little more akin to, well, maybe he's just off rhythm. Maybe he's pressing because he saw something that ultimately he didn't think he was seeing. That's what I think would be the chess game for Jesse Minter and company. It doesn't have to be an overwhelming, hey, we shut out Ohio State. But I do think if you can force the heartbeat of this team and C.J. Stroud, the heartbeat of this offense, to be uncomfortable, to be out of sorts, to be out of structure, that's where I think Michigan could have the advantage. Because Ohio State's offense has found that monster gear routinely this year. If you can force them out of rhythm and allow your offense to, again, get back downhill and dictate the tempo and force Ohio State into a recalibration period, Jesse Minter, that is buying his offense time to get downhill, I think that's the kind of game that, again, favors Michigan, and again, where they have to go on the road and play in Columbus. So to recap, the Ohio State secondary, J.J. McCarthy, and the Michigan wide receivers, this will be a battle. Who can step up to the plate in the biggest game of this season? Ohio State's front seven, we say front seven, linebacking core, defensive line group. Can you withstand the Michigan rushing game? You hope the Michigan rushing game is healthy. I hope they get healthy, quite frankly, because I want to see the best game possible, but that's an identity for both programs, the toughness. Who wins that toughness match? Then finally, the chess game between Jesse Minter and C.J. Stroud. I'm excited to watch it. Going to be a whole lot of fun. Now, the announcement that we are very pleased to make on this program, I'll just get straight to it. The hard count is hitting the road. We are going to be in Columbus for this game. It is a playoff game, and we are privileged, we are honored, and just quite frankly feel like a kid in a candy store getting to go to this game. And I promise you, we don't take it for granted one bit. A lot of people that will spend hard-earned money to be in the stadium that day, and I'm very excited and grateful to say we are going to be there. So looking forward to seeing a ton of you there and have an absolute blast taking in the greatest spectacle that will be college football on that Saturday. So fired up to watch it. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram to stay up with every single thing that we're doing here. We want you a part of this. We want you at the party. We're going to have a good time. We're going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all in Columbus, and we will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.